Welcome to After the Rain, a storytelling podcast from Playa Lakes Joint Venture. These are the voices stewarding the land and the stories that surface after the rain. When we talk about water conservation in western Kansas, it can feel abstract. Policies, allocations, percent reductions. But on the farm, it doesn't feel abstract at all. It feels operational, it feels financial, and sometimes it feels uncertain. We're continuing a series exploring how communities in Kansas Groundwater Management District Number 1 are working together to address water challenges and protect water for future generations. Throughout the series, you'll hear from local leaders, producers, and scientists who are turning conversations and real-world decisions into long-term solutions. For Steve Compton, a producer and GMD1 and board member, the four-county Lima didn't start with panic. It started with a calculator.
We had to look at the amount of water that we were putting into our crop and then figure what we could reduce the water down to and figure what our return on investment would be there, whether it would hurt our return on investment or actually help our return on investment, which helped us figure out whether we were actually putting too many inputs into what the crop that we were putting out and how efficiently we were using our water.
It wasn't a shock. The idea had been building for years.
That was something that had been talked about for several years. So yes, it was something that needed to be done. We're anticipating it was going to happen. Just weren't sure at what time frame it was going to be implemented.
Still, knowing something is coming doesn't make it easy when it arrives. The hardest part?
Operationally adapting to and figuring out what the balance was between our inputs and our water usage.
For Steve, there was one advantage. He had already been experimenting on his farm.
Part of our operation was already in a water conservation area. And so we had been basically kind of experimenting with half of our farm with doing it before. So that really helped to roll into what we were doing.
But early on, everyone felt it.
Nobody knew what to expect or as to what they could do. But especially over 2025, the amount of rain that we've gotten has tremendously helped that ability to use less water to get us by.
The structure of the Lima allowed something important: flexibility.
We were able to bank our water over a 5-year period. That offered the flexibility to experiment and go forward.
And that experiment, it meant a 25% reduction. But here's the part that surprises people. Yields didn't collapse.
For the most part, our yields have maintained where we're at. It's just different timing of the water applications and kind of finding out to a certain extent, the old ways, we were just overwatering our crops is what we've been doing.
That realization changed management. Moisture probes became part of the operation, but not in the way most people assume.
Moisture probes are best used in wet years when it's raining, and then it tells you when you need to turn your pivot back on.
Steve adapted. Crop rotation, replaced continuous corn, cover crops, created residue mats to reduce evaporation, and every decision came back to one question.
Well, the number one problem overall was just efficiency of water usage. Trying to maximize every drop that we put on out there.
When you start measuring that closely, confidence changes.
When you see that it can work, then it's pretty easy to move forward. And every year has proved that it's doable.
John Payne has been in agronomy for long enough to remember when conservation looked very different.
It used to be use it or lose it, just pump it. And everybody pumped till the end of the year because they had that water and they were going to lose it.
Today, he says the mentality has shifted.
I think guys are starting to see the differences in what we can do, and with crop rotations and all the technology we're using, we can raise more crops with less water, more consistently, and being able to bank that water takes some of that risk out of those dry years.
But implementation isn't just about equipment. It's about communication. As a board member, Steve says the key was simple.
It was education, and holding the town hall meetings, listening to what the producers, what their concerns were, what they felt like their needs were. And the communication process has been the key to everything.
So, what does stability mean now? John says it doesn't mean standing still.
I think we're just going to continue adapting for that stability. We're going to find new ways, new opportunities, new crops to keep the groundwater stable. And I think we're just at the beginning of all that. I think there's more to come.
And if you had to sum up this phase, the middle step between policy and permanence, Steve doesn't hesitate.
Embrace the change. The reward, it's the challenge and the satisfaction. They kind of go hand in hand in that. We were presented with the challenge of being able to do the change. We're rewarded with the satisfaction to know that it's working.
That's implementation. Not dramatic, not disastrous, not easy, but measurable and working. In our next episode, we'll hear from Wes McCary, Technology Projects Coordinator for the Kansas Water Office, about how the journey to Q Stable begins with understanding what the goal is.